Welcome back to the corral. It's true. The spring chicken that I once was has flown the coop. If a pint a day keeps the doctor away, I'm in better shape than most of you. Here we go. All right. So yes, indeed, November 19th, 1955, my mother was 25 years old. My parents were married in 1950. I was the second child. My sister was born in 53. My parents were married 65 years, and they died just a few months after that anniversary, 40 days apart. My wife and I were with them constantly in those final years. We were with them constantly forever, I guess. And my sister was living with them, and she had terminal cancer, and she died the following year. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because the topic of this video is perseverance. I actually have a theme here, so give me some credit, okay? Perseverance. So we took care of the business we had to take care of, and the decade that I'm finishing, my 6th decade, which will come to an end this coming year, has been the most difficult I've ever had. And I mentioned that because of the theme of perseverance. I want to talk about that. Good things did happen in the past decade. The birth of my granddaughters, for example. When I retired, I was able to travel even more. I'm always traveling, but I was able to do more, and so on and so forth. So that's been enjoyable, but it was pretty tough. So I'm glad to put this decade behind me, which leads me to number 7 coming up. Anyway, we're talking about perseverance. I mentioned before that I was taught how to read on the Lippincott Basic Reading Series in the early 60s, and they taught me to. That was my mother and a very good teacher I had in elementary school. They taught me to comprehend first and judge later. That was great, and that opened up the whole problem that you see behind me. I've been doing it ever since. So I call it a problem kind of facetiously. It's not really a problem for me. I wouldn't be here without these books. I treasure every one of them. So excuse me, I have a bit of a hackle today. Do you ever get those in the dry season in the fall? Anyway, I know I'm rambling. Hey, it's my birthday. I'll ramble if I want to. So, anyways, comprehend first and judge it later. This is why I don't do this booktube thing that everybody copycats called DNF. DNF means did not finish. I see people, booktubers, holding up stacks of books and saying, this is my stack of DNF for the month tee-hee, and I'm astounded to see this. I get it. Everybody's different. Y'all have your own thing, and I respect that. I'll never do that. It is true. We all have those moments when we're reading where we'll come across a book and we're reading it and we're thinking, oh, that's not for me. Set it aside. I try to get back to them and finish it. I don't always, but I do a lot more than some of you people, and I save them too. So I don't get it. It's all younger people too. I don't see the older guys doing it, the older women doing it. Not too much anyway. I mean, we all do have those moments. For me, it would be Dan Brown. I can't get through them. But I would like to encourage you to try something different. Comprehend it first. The only way you can fully comprehend a book is to finish reading it, get it done. And so getting into the perseverance, I was taught to persevere, to push ahead, to make it happen, Now, I'm a very fast reader, and I have a high retention. I've been tested, so that's not malarkey. That's true. The idea there has been quite useful to me, as you can see from all the stuff behind me. Now, there's another aspect to being able to persevere that I want to talk about. So I'm going to reveal a couple of things about myself that I've never talked about publicly, but I think you might find it interesting. And this episode is geared toward those few of you that will find value in my words. And there may only be a few of you. And if that's the case, I'm happy I did it. I don't know. I might change my mind and take this down later. At the same time, right after I learned this Lippincott Basic Reading Series, being mentored by my parents and this great teacher I had in elementary school, I was really a shy, introverted young man. So they took me to a professional. He diagnosed me as being autistic. And my mother rejected the autism diagnosis because of the stigma attached to it, which in 1964, you can imagine, was much different than it is today. And that was, I believe, the correct thing for her to do. By the way, I've been tested later, and nothing's conclusive there at all. I do remember when I was in my mid-20s, somebody told me, you're nothing more than a malcontent. And I always liked that. So, anyways, so I had some issues. And it was the books that kept me going. I persevered because I was able to dig into a book and get lost in the adventure or learn from it, too. You need to be entertained and you need to be enlightened when you're reading. Those are two factors. Even pulp fiction, even genre fiction, can entertain and enlighten you. So then there's another aspect that I'm going to share, and this is going to be a little gross for some of you. It gets a little bloody here. In 1967, I injured myself severely, and I was in dire straits. I fell through a window, and I slashed open my wrist. I fell through the window like this and put my hand forward to stop myself. The glass cut my wrist, and when I pulled my hand back, the jagged glass cut my wrist yet again. And if it wasn't for the timely intervention of a neighbor who took me to the emergency room where they gave me blood transfusions and stitched me up, I would not be here today. That's something that has stayed with me all of my life. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to show you the scars. But I had to persevere with it. They put me together. It was a doctor. The doctor's name, by the way, was Wool. And I would come to know him in my teens later. I wasn't in my teens yet. And it was in the autumn of 1967. So he was a good surgeon. He did a really good job. My tendons were severed. So I had no tendons. So he was able to piece together a tendon that had been cut up. Twice, remember, because you're going back and forth. And so I have a tendon here which enables me to move my fingers. And that's because the doctor thought to do that. In fact, one of the scars I have is an incision scar that I have, which is right here. I'm not going to show it to you. I don't want to gross you guys out. Where he was able to find the pieces and then bring them up on the open part here where I had gaped open and so forth. I'm probably giving you too much information. Sorry about that. Anyways, I was told that I'm handicapped. So that's kind of disturbing, because nobody likes to be handicapped. And it basically came down to there's no strength in this hand at all. Now, I can move it and I can do things with it, but there's, no strength. If I were doing weightlifting, for example, which I haven't done in a while, in different ways, weightlifting in different ways, if I'm doing barbells, it would be like this, because this arm can't do it. It just can't. No matter what you do, it can't. But I did do that for a long time to build up strength. So you have to persevere. And I was mentored by my parents to do this, and so forth. And it was fun because I felt, okay, so it's not so bad, But when it came to learning how to type, I had an issue because the fingers don't always work in tandem with the mind. It doesn't quite function properly. This is a very weak arm. So I had to memorize it. QWERTY, QWERTY. And what I learned to do was I learned to set this left hand over the keyboard, type this way, and occasionally hit a letter or two that fell under my hand, and that's how I type to this day. If I get up ahead of steam, I can do 25, 30 words a minute. That's not great, but I can type. So it became a process of learning, and this is, again, you have to try to persevere. You have to try to push ahead to learn how to do things. In the martial arts, for example, this is a totally useless arm to box with if you're going to do boxing. I have nothing. There's nothing here. All of my strength is on my right side. I'm right-handed. So in Hapkido or Judo, this would become a wrap and then that becomes a palm strike to the nose, because this is a deflection. And that's what I was trained there. I've been very fortunate to come in contact with very wise people in my life who taught me a variety of things and encouraged me in a variety of ways to persevere. And you have to keep trying to do that. In this day and age, it's very dark, it's very gloomy. It's not a pleasant world we live in. And it's even more prevalent now because we have this social media where we can see the nastiness, we can see the darkness. And we look at ourselves here on booktubers that like to subscribe to these channels like me. We're looking at ourselves on this box, this phone box that I've talked about, where I'm filming this now. And we only get a glimpse of each other. And we make these impressions of each other, snap judgments that are quite often inaccurate. This has occurred with me on numerous occasions relating to a variety of topics I'm not going into. But with this issue of perseverance, sometimes when people are perceiving you, they don't know the full story. I don't tell people about this. I don't tell people about the struggles as a young boy to read and how that came to be. Only on this channel have I learned to try to do that. Constantly learning, constantly trying to be transparent, constantly trying to offer a way to persevere for myself and others. You have to do that. So, excuse me, in an employment setting, people look at me and they typing like this and they think, what the hell's wrong with you? Why don't you learn how to type? They don't understand because I didn't tell them. They have a snap judgment. He's a doofus or whatever. I can live with that too, Here's a very interesting one. When we're talking about how we perceive each other and the things we don't know about each other that are more telling than this little 10-minute clip talking about books. A couple of years ago, it was about 8 years ago, my wife bought me a guitar because I'd always wanted to play a guitar, an acoustic, and I went and took guitar lessons for 3 years. Now, the first thing on the first day was I talked to the instructor, and I told him about this. I said, I have an issue. My wife bought me 5 free lessons. If it doesn't work out, we're going to know, but I want to try. He was happy that I wanted to try, and so he said, we're going to do 2 things. I'm going to teach you how to do simple chords, and then you can learn how to do tabs. You guitar players know how to do that. So I did that. I did it for 3 years. I can play simple songs, and Happy Birthday, and I learned how to do it mostly with the tabs. I can do some chords. And it was really, really pleasant for me to do that. I still have the guitar. I still pick it up now and again. And I'm never going to be a musician, but I wanted to learn. I wanted to persevere and try that. And it was a wonderful experience for me. And when you're doing new things and you're happy about it, we use social media to talk about those things. So I had posted a few photos of myself with a guitar on Facebook, and immediately I got hit by guitar players. These are people that I know personally. One of them was a high school guy I went to high school with, who's a guitar player, who's in rock bands and all this. And he sent me a private message. You're a writer and I'm the guitar player. You shouldn't, you're just a poser or whatever he said. Really vicious to me. There were a few people that did that. So social media is really nonsense. Now, I never explained to this dingbat that I went to high school with. I didn't bother with it. I'm still friends with him on Facebook, but I don't really go on it very often. I don't like it. I'm probably going to delete it. I actually deactivated it once. Anyways, the nastiness comes out in people for whatever reason. You never know when you're going to strike, no pun intended, that chord with people who just want to be nasty SOBs, okay? You never know when they're going to do that. Because we really don't know the other part of the story, do we? So, for those of you out there that I know who would like to try to do different things, maybe you'd like to play a guitar, maybe you have some issues, maybe they're emotional issues, maybe they're physical issues like I have with this. It didn't stop me from trying, and it shouldn't stop you from trying. Make the effort. Let me encourage you to do that. And if you do, post something on your YouTube channel on how you overcame adversity by trying to persevere, by trying to do something useful in a very dark and gloomy world. That's the brightness, that's the light that we all need. We need to hear from you, too, doing that. And I believe in you. You know, I really believe in you. And you can believe in yourself. And that's how I managed to do it, because I was surrounded with a wonderful family and wonderful people. I've been a very fortunate man all of my life. And now I have my wife telling me good things. You know, the last couple of years have been difficult, and things have changed for me. Things have changed in the last 5 years. Things have changed dramatically for me. And I'm going to be doing some different things. Perhaps I'll talk about those different things with you later. Perhaps I won't. But today I thought I would be a little different, and I thought that I would offer some encouragement to those of you that perhaps need it. I hope that makes sense. Kind of a chancy thing I'm doing here, I don't know. But that's what I wanted to say on my birthday. I am 69 years old, and in the next year I'm going to get this difficult decade behind me and move on to something else. Whatever the journey is, I'm going to embrace it and try to do my very best. And I wish you to do the same. And I wish to hear about it. And I wish to see your videos about it. And by the way, this book I'm holding is a first edition of A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, which if you have not read it, you should. I haven't gotten to Hemingway yet on this channel. I'm kind of holding him in reserve. I'll get to him. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's my birthday wish for all of you. Not for me. For you. I want you to stay well. I want you to stay happy. I want you to try different things. I want you to persevere. Read a book. Cheers, my friends.